Well, the first thing I noticed is the AC started blowing warm. Then I noticed the temperature's rising. When I come to a stop, it even goes up higher. When I'm rolling, it's just fine. We're gonna have to find out why our Charger's temperature is rising. Today on Tech Garage, we'll fix this sick Charger. Welcome to Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts. Well, we got our Charger in the shop, running a little hot, but made it nevertheless. Brian, our Charger's illin', man. The temperature's rising.
Well, there can be a lot of symptoms. What do you got going on? What's the symptom?
Well, number one, the AC started blowing warm. You know, that makes sense because the condenser's located right inside there, right in front of it. So if it's getting hot, that means it's going to transfer in the AC. I'm not too concerned about that. I'm really worried about the coolant system.
What else is going on?
Well, here's the deal. I stop. And when I go, mostly stop and go traffic, it really starts to rise. Then what happens when I'm rolling along, it starts to cool down, man. That's an airflow or a coolant leak issue, basically.
I'll tell you what, that can be a lot of things. So we need a proper diagnostic here, and we probably need a pressure test. You know, it's warm, it's not hot. I did some just basic investigating here at hose clamps and whatnot. I didn't see anything. So I'd like to do a full-blown pressure test.
That's probably the best thing to do. Here's a tip for you. When you pop your hood, you know, you can look at that reservoir. If it's full, I'm thinking maybe electrical. If it's empty, I'm chasing the actual coolant leaks, but don't forget, someone might have just filled it up. So you need to perform those tests, and you need to perform them proper. I'll get a demo set up to show how a coolant system works. You get to work.
Perfect, I certainly will. Now, again, a lot of things this could be. And when you're dealing with antifreeze, sometimes you can almost taste it, you can certainly smell it. And in this case, I'm looking for any kind of steam, any kind of vapors leaking, and I haven't seen anything. So, Mighty Vac makes this awesome tool, a tremendous tool to have in your shop. That's a pressure tester. Now keep in mind, the vehicle's warm, not hot, so it's safe to work on, but I am going to be safe here. I'm using safety goggles, and I want to come over here in this pressurized system and back the cap off and just let it burp a little bit. It didn't even do that, so it's not terribly hot, but it's warm enough certainly that we can service it. I'm going to get this off. I get the Mighty Vac cap on, a little bit of oomph right there, and this pressure tester hooks right up only one way. And what we're going to do, we're going to put the same amount of pressure in the system as this radiator cap calls for. In this case, it's 18 psi. So I'm going to go ahead and pump this up, and then we're going to leave it sit for 15, 20 minutes and see if it bleeds off at all. 15, 16, 17, and 18. So if the system's not leaking, this won't bleed off. If it does, we'll start chasing down the leak somewhere in the line. But in the meantime, John's going to walk you through an entire cooling system and show you exactly what's going on.
Now, the coolant system's job is to remove the heat from the engine and get rid of it. It does it by the law of thermodynamics. Well, sounds pretty complicated. Heat moves from a place that contains heat to less heat. Let me show you how it works. All starts down here at the bottom of the radiator, and the first place it goes is to the water pump. Now, the water pump's the heart of the coolant system because its job is to circulate the actual coolant around the block. You can see it here. The impellers pump it, and it spins into the block, and then it comes up the head. Well, why do we want to go around the block? Well, I got my little glass bottle here. Once again, you can see this. This is the cylinder. Inside of that, you have your piston. Every time the piston comes up and down, it's going to fire. It's going to create an immense amount of heat in that cylinder. Heat goes from hot to less heat. It's going to come out here to the coolant. It's going to transfer to it, and then it's going to take a ride back to the radiator. But before it does that, it has to come up here through the heads, and then a thermostat's located right here in the intake manifold. The thermostat's job is to actually keep the coolant in there so it'll stay hot, and it regulates the temperature. They're rated at different ratings, so it's going to go up and down depending on rating and temperature. Then what happens? It simply grabs all the heat, comes up, returns to the radiator. Now the radiator is located in front of the car. You can see a cutaway one right here. Now the radiator has these fins in it, and what happens is the coolant circulates through it, and as it circulates through it, on the back of the radiator is a fan. The fan spins, and that speeds up convection, and it allows the heat to transfer from the engine, which was really, really hot, to the front, to the outside air ambient temperature, 70, 80, 90 degrees. We're getting rid of it. But don't forget, one other piece of the puzzle. Located inside the car, you could have a heater core. When you pressure test it, look inside the car as well and see if you have any leaks inside. Now I can show you this one in action. It's pretty cool. We got the thermostat out of it, but you can see it actually flowing the coolant through there, and it's running through. So we're taking the heat from the engine to the front, bam, getting rid of it. Now what Brian did, he actually pressurized the system. And when he pressurized the system, everything has pressure on it at that point. You can go out there and get some of this dye. It's multi-purpose dye. You can put it in the system and you can check for leaks. This is pretty cool because this will seep out or weep out. And you can see I actually put some right here on my heater core. And you can see up in the corner, the actual dye's starting to seep out right there. Time to replace the heater core. So that's a good look at that. Now, Brian's got it pressurized, so what Brian's gonna find is either it's gonna bleed down. That means he has a leak. That could be two possible places. Could be an external leak because one of the components are leaking. In that case, we're just gonna replace it. Can be internal as well. Our cylinder jackets may leak by, bleed into the oil. You wanna check your oil for a little bit of milky condition. If you got coolant in there, could be a head gasket issue or something along those lines. Now, if it's not bleeding down, he's got an electrical issue. We'll find out what he found out when we return with more Tech Garage right after this break.